Yes! Oh, it is. It is. Wednesday, hump day episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. This one's going to be like a therapy session. This is going to be taking our medicine today, Dolphins fans, because I think we all have to admit we drafted the wrong guy in 2020. Before we get to that, I want to remind you that every episode of Donno Daily is served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I'm heading up to the Quarterdeck. In fact, right after the show, I'm not sure what I want to eat today. I think I'm going to have the All-American burger today because I had the French dip sandwich last time. I had sushi prior to that. I'm going to get myself a burger today. They are so delicious at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The Quarterdeck is a great spot to watch every football game, Saturdays and Sundays. They have the 5 for $15 ice cold bucket specials, Heineken family of beers, high noon hard seltzer, or you can mix and match those to your heart's content. 2 for $1 happy hour all day, every day. Make it your spot, by the way, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill, locations all over Broward County. Make it your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge. You pay nothing at the door at the Quarterdeck. If you want to peep their menu before you go or visit them on the web to check out the location nearest to you, visit them at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Our official sports book here on Donno Daily is betus.com. Life is back on, sports bettors. Football season is well underway now, so I hope you're taking advantage of the great deal we offer. BetUS has your NFL, NBA, NHL, UFC, PGA lines up. This is their 27th football season, BetUS, and you get live betting on all of that. So even if you don't get your bet in at the start of the game, you can bet at any point during the game as well. Log on to betus.com or call 1-800-792-3887. And if you deposit with our code 5RSN125, you get a 125%, I should say, sign-up bonus if you deposit with your credit card, or if you deposit with crypto, you get a 200% sign-up bonus. How good is that? This is a full-service sports book. You can get odds on anything. Their customer service is great, and they are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. So the title of this episode, it got people going. Even before we went live, we already had several people hitting the unlike button on YouTube. I would encourage you to hit the like button if you can. I'm going to be pretty rational about this, guys, okay? I encourage you to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, 5 Reasons Sports. I had this same thought after, and this wasn't so much about the Dolphins game because Jacoby Brissett started that game, but after watching Justin Herbert, what he did on the road in Kansas City, after watching what he did last season, even when the team was bad, their coach was inept last year, Anthony Lynn, they fired the entire coaching staff, their offensive line was bad last year, and yet Justin Herbert was still putting up godlike numbers as a rookie last year, and now in his second year, they look like they're going to be a playoff team to me. Still very early, 2-1 start for the Los Angeles Chargers, but they look like they are going to be a playoff team for me. Martina Davies writes in, yeah, I don't think this take can be argued so far, but we haven't seen the best of Tua yet. We have barely seen him at 100% health. Tua can still succeed, but only if Miami fixes the offensive line. And before I get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about today here with Tua, Justin Herbert, I want to make myself very clear. My feelings on the Dolphins drafting the wrong quarterback at 5th overall in 2020 when you could have had Justin Herbert at 6th overall in that same draft, these feelings aren't only about Tua. Like, this is a huge compliment to Justin Herbert because I look at Tua Tagovailoa, and like Martina says, Tua can still succeed. Tua can still be very good in this league, but Justin Herbert is already a superstar. Like, Justin Herbert already looks like the real deal, and the jury is still out on Tua Tagovailoa. And so far, Tua has looked like a guy who, A, is going to have some problems staying healthy. Now, the hit that he took to the ribs against the Bills, it's not his fault necessarily. The hit certainly was not his fault. That was completely on Jesse Davis on the right side. The length of time he's spending on the injury list, I don't know. The hit certainly wasn't his fault, but now he missed a game due to injury last year. He's going to miss at least 3 games due to injury this year, had an injury history at Alabama. And so far in the time that Tua has played, you can blame play calling, holding him back. You can certainly say that we've left a lot of plays on the field with Tua. But at the same time, so far, and Sean Stanley, I want you to put yourself in here and tell me if this is fair to say, okay? So far, it's looked like Tua is a guy who has to have everything around him looking great for him to succeed. Yeah, he won 6 games as a starter last year, 6-3. He's now 7-4. But the games that he won last year, incredible defense, right? He looked, and it's ironic, Sean, because in 2020, the reason why I didn't want to draft Justin Herbert, admittedly, I wanted Tua. We got the guy that I wanted. The reason why I didn't want to draft Justin Herbert was I compared Justin Herbert to Ryan Tannehill 2.0. Ironically enough, I think the Dolphins may have drafted Ryan Tannehill 2.0 because so far Tua has looked like a guy that can potentially be a good quarterback and manage games if everything around him is very good, but not create plays out of nowhere the way I'm seeing Justin Herbert do it. So ironically enough, I wanted to avoid Tannehill 2.0. We may have gotten Tannehill 2.0.
Or did Flores get the guy that he wanted? Because he doesn't want a guy out there to sling it around making mistakes. He's about defense. And I think that's what they did. They went with the guy they knew, okay, Tua's our guy. He's our game manager, if you want to put him there. I know he makes plays, but I think they went and they got the guy that they felt more comfortable because they have a good defense or they're building a good defense, and this was the guy they wanted. Now, again, I wanted Tua as well. I was in the whole tank for Tua and everything else, so I'm not going to sit there and say it's a bad pick. I mean, he hasn't even played a season yet. Yeah, he was injured last year, and he's been injured this year. But also, how many more times has he been hit than what Justin Herbert's been hit?
Here's the thing, though. Like, we forget, and this is why, and listen, Dave Hyde wrote a great column on this, okay? And I had the same thought coming out of Sunday Chargers-Chiefs that Dave Hyde had, and he wrote about it in his column after the weekend. We forget Justin Herbert's offensive line was terrible last year, right? So it's not like Tua is the only guy who's had to play behind a bad offensive line. Let me read you an excerpt from Dave Hyde's piece in the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, because I want to give Hyde credit where credit is due, okay? He said, maybe Tua becomes a good player if given a competent offensive line. Herbert's line missed 3 starters last year and was rated the worst in the league. Worst offensive line in the league by Pro Football Focus last year. The Dolphins line ranked 28th, so they weren't good either. Chargers were 32nd. Dolphins were 28th. Herbert still broke every imaginable NFL rookie passing record, including touchdowns 31, completions 396. Now year 2, he says, Herbert threw 4 touchdowns Sunday against Kansas City. After Mahomes took the lead in the second half, Herbert converted 3rd and 10 and 4th and 3 conversions and threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to Keenan Allen. In the final minute, Chargers coach Brandon Staley showed his belief in Herbert by going for it on 4th and 9 in a tie game when a field goal would give the lead. Herbert's pass drew a pass interference penalty for the first down. He then threw the winning touchdown. Can you imagine, Hyde writes, the excitement if a young quarterback did that for the Dolphins, if a magic carpet ride like this was taking off? God, we would be like throwing parades down the street, and we would deserve it because we've been 21, 22 years now without great quarterbacking. We've been that long. It helps the Chargers built an offensive line for Herbert this year, Hyde writes. Their left tackle, rookie Rashawn Slater, is the first-round pick. The Dolphins' second-year tackle, Austin Jackson, hasn't been. Their free agent buy in center Corey Linsley is paying dividends in ways the Dolphins' free agent buys haven't. So, and that's the segue to my next argument, Sean. I'm not trying to put this all on Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not. Tua can still be really good. Justin Herbert is already great. That's a problem. To me, that's a missed evaluation. I'm going to blame a lot of this on the GM, the front office. That's where we need to direct our outrage. Because first, and this goes back way beyond Chris Grier. Like the problems in selecting quarterbacks went way before Grier. You think about in the last 21 years, and guys, I have been a Dolphin fan. I'm 37 years old. Let's say I've been a hardcore Dolphin fan for like 32, 33 of those, when I was a toddler and I really started to care about this team. In the last 21 years alone, since Marino, the Dolphins have missed on Drew Brees twice. Could have drafted him, could have signed him. And obviously these are not Chris Grier's fault. Wanstead and Saban, you blame for that. But we missed on Drew Brees twice. A lot of teams did, but we missed on Russell Wilson. And I will bring that up because he was drafted 3rd round the same year we drafted Ryan Tannehill in the 1st round. So I'm going to call that a miss on Russell Wilson. Missed on Josh Allen. Missed on Justin Herbert now. Am I forgetting anyone? Like, am I leaving out any other notables that the Dolphins have missed over the years? Brees, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. So we've missed so many opportunities. Imagine what it's like to be a Los Angeles Chargers fan right now, where, and I know Phillip Rivers didn't win any Super Bowls, but he was incredible. So they go right from that to Justin Herbert. Green Bay went right from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and yet 21 years.
Did Brady. Everybody missed on Brady, but I guess technically we had 6 chances at Brady as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to count. Everybody missed on him 6 times, so I'm not going to count that one. And I don't think we even drafted a quarterback Brady's year. Yeah.
Unless later, maybe we got one of those backups. But
Lamar Jackson. People are pointing that out. That's it. And Aaron Rodgers, whose name I did mention, but not in the same context. Yeah, we missed on Aaron Rodgers. We missed on Lamar Jackson. Okay, and here's beyond the quarterback, because obviously 80%, 90% of those quarterbacks that I mentioned, those were not on Grier. Pull up again for me, Sean. We did talk about this about a week ago, but it still rings true today. Oh, Derek Carr, that's another one. Thank you, Alex. That is another one we missed out on. Pull up that tweet from Kai Chen Chisholm on the draft picks that Chris Grier has made since he started calling the shots in the draft room back in 2016. Because again, I know that I don't want people to think that this episode is going to be a Rip Tua session, even though I did think we drafted the wrong quarterback in 2020. We were 1 spot off. I think Tua can still be good. Justin Herbert's already great. That's a problem. But the real problem here, unfortunately, because I like this dude a lot, Chris Grier is a great guy, and I think he's got a great football mind, but he's missed on a lot of picks. I mean, you look at the Tua draft alone, 2020, okay? Now, we all praise Grier for turning Laramie Tunsil into half dozen plus first-round picks by the time it was all said and done, because you ended up dealing picks for other picks, like more than a half dozen first-round picks you got for Laramie Tunsil, and you throw Minkah Fitzpatrick in there as well. We praise Chris Grier for collecting all of those assets. Fantastic job. But then if you're going to miss on most of those picks, the high draft picks, we'd be better off with Laramie Tunsil and with Minkah Fitzpatrick at this point. So in the 2020 draft alone, in the 1st round, Noah Igbenogany, not working out so far. Austin Jackson, an absolute disgrace. He's gotten worse in the 2nd year. So, okay, you can blame talent development if you want to, but first year, he had some excuses last year, I know, but Austin Jackson does not look like a competent NFL tackle. That was a 1st-round pick of ours, and Tua Tagovailoa, jury's still out.
He's taking a step back this year compared to what he was last year, which is, again, something that you maybe don't expect a player to take a step back after he looked, again, okay last year. He looked serviceable. Like, okay, he's developing. We got something here. And now this year, it looks like, I don't know what he did in the offseason.
So, and I know that a couple people in the comments, and the comments have been pouring in. I can't even keep up with some of these, but there was one of these that came in early. If you can find it, Sean, one of the early comments that came in from Sly Red Gaming, Graphics, and Music. He says, "This is stupid. Even bring this up at this point. It's done and over. Why are they even talking about it? Besides, Tua is way more accurate than Justin Herbert." He says, well, first of all, I think it's important to talk about this because our front office needs to be held accountable. I get it. We can't go in a time machine and do the 2020 draft over again. Like, there's no fixing that. Like, Justin Herbert is going to be a Charger. If they're smart, he'll be a Charger for his entire career. They're never going to let that guy go, right? So there's nothing we can do about that one. But we can hold the decision makers accountable for missing on that and missing on so many other picks. So, yes, I think it is worth talking about to counter your point here. And Tua's more accurate by what? Like, well, what measure do we use to rate accuracy if you say Tua is more accurate? Tua has completed 63% of his passes as a pro. He tends to throw shorter stuff than Herbert does. Herbert has completed 67.1% of his passes, 67 to 63. That's Herbert's more accurate according to that stat. Justin Herbert, and he's made more appearances, 18 versus 12. So you have to average some of these things out. But Justin Herbert, 5,300 passing yards, Tua just over 2,000. Herbert, 37 touchdown passes, Tua 12. Herbert, 13 interceptions, Tua 6. Now, I know that's more interceptions, but a lot more touchdowns, a bigger sample size. Herbert's touchdown to INT ratio is just under 3-1, and Tua's is 2-1. And the passer ratings, a 98.2% for Herbert and a 85.8% for Tua. So if you've got a metric that shows me Herbert is less accurate than Tua, please show it to me, because the pro stats say otherwise. Maybe in college Tua was more accurate than Herbert, but the stats so far in the pros tell me a different story than that. Codeine Bama says, too early to call a guy who only started 11 games a miss. I agree. I'm not, you notice when I went through those draft picks, I said jury's still out on Tua. I'm not calling him a miss. The miss was not drafting Herbert, because Tua can still be very good. I just have a hard time projecting and imagining right now that he's going to be as good, let alone better, than Justin Herbert is. That's my problem, that I can call it a miss not drafting Herbert. Maybe there's still a chance that Tua can be really good. Martina writes, Grier cannot be allowed to draft another player for the Dolphins. Grier is on a sorry and goodbye tour. You know, we told you yesterday a couple things that my source, who's close to some Dolphin players, was telling me yesterday. He heard that, we know that the owner, according to every report, the owner wants Deshaun Watson. And after the loss in Vegas, the first call that Chris Grier received was from Stephen Ross. And Dolphin players now, according to my source, are all saying the same thing. They really like Tua as a person. They think he's a really nice guy, but they see what Herbert's doing. They saw what Herbert did in Kansas City, and they're starting to wonder the same thing. Did we get the wrong guy? Do we have the right guy leading our offense? So it's not just me saying this, according to my source. We're going to circle back to this, but I do want to bring in our next guest. And he's a Cowboys fan, so maybe I can also get his unbiased perspective on this before we dive headfirst into some Miami Hurricanes. Very good friend of ours from Miami Hurricanes coverage here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Vish Parasuraman joins us now here on Donno Daily. I still, man, you know what? I'm going to be seeing Ethan later today. I've got to tell him to bring me one of those hats if he still has any, because I've been trying to get a hold of a 5 Reasons Sports hat. You're looking so good in that hat, Vish. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You know, before we get into some Canes, now you're a Cowboys fan, so you're
Right.
unbiased, all right? You know, we have certain Dolphin fans watching that are in the chat that are either super biased against Tua or super biased towards Tua, and they're all unfortunately hitting the dislike button on this video, and they hate me. They hate me for bringing up the possibility that we screwed up drafting Tua last year. How do you look at this, Vish, from the outside looking in? I mean, is there any way to justify at this point drafting Tua over Justin Herbert when we see what Herbert is out there doing?
At this point, probably not, but it is still early in both their careers, so I think there's still time there. And you knew when you drafted Tua, he was injured. It was going to take some time. I think when you look at Grier's overall tenure, it's problematic. So it's not just the Tua pick. So that's a different discussion, I think. And when I came on, you were kind of discussing it's, you got to look forward and backwards. When you're evaluating him, you definitely look backwards. So that's a different discussion. But, I mean, you mentioned I'm a Cowboys fan. Just looking at where Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott were on their trajectory after 2 years, you would have taken Wentz 100 times out of 100. You'd be insane to do that now. Now, again, Dak was a lower, and the reason I say there's a little bit of a parallel there is Dak was, I think, a 4th-round pick because they knew he was a project, and he's developed. Tua was a polished player in college that came in injured. So you knew there was going to be a slower start to his career. So I think it's a little early. I mean, obviously, if you had to do it over again, you'd be an idiot to say, oh, we're going to take Tua based on what we've seen. But I think there's still time for him to justify the pick.
Now here's an even tougher question, and it's a good one by Zachary Allen in the chat. Because even like, and this is a smaller disparity, but even like if you could completely do the 2020 draft over again, knowing what we know now, even the Bengals would have probably drafted Justin Herbert. And it's not to say like Joe Burrow, who, he injured his knee last year, but he's looking good. He was looking good before the injury. He's looking good now after the injury. But like, wouldn't you say even the Bengals, if they could do it over, probably would have drafted Justin Herbert?
Yeah, no, he would be the number one pick. He's looked outstanding. Like, I don't. There were actually questions. If you go back to the time, it's hard to remember now. Like, there were a lot of questions about him, whether he could even play in the NFL. Like, Herbert was kind of a controversial pick, even where he was taken. So, yeah, it's all 2020 hindsight, right? Like, now I think there's no doubt he'd be the number one pick.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's one of the magic things that we content creators can do is we can judge people based on hindsight. But I do hold myself accountable, because I do admit, if I was doing Chris Grier's job, I would have done the same thing. I would have drafted Tua. Like, I had been clamoring for Tua to be a Dolphin for like a year and a half by the time that they drafted him. So I would have made the exact same mistake. Now, he's paid 7 figures to do that job. I am not. So I can go back and judge him for making that decision. But we'll circle back to the Dolphins. I want to talk some Canes here with Vish, who is just so excellent at breaking down Miami. And we're already getting some Miami negativity on the chat as well. Gianmarco Paterno writes in, Vish, end my misery. Tell me the Canes are losing out to replace Manny Diaz. Vishnu, I've been watching Virginia. Not looking so good. I actually think the Miami Hurricanes are going to win tomorrow. Am I wrong?
I don't think so. I mean, Virginia's terrible.
Yeah.
So if they can't win this, it's that essentially right now Virginia's the worst team in the Coastal. They've looked like it. They've played like it. It's also a good matchup in that Virginia cannot rush the passer at all. They have 5 sacks this season in total across 4 games, and they played William and Mary in one of those games. Like, this is they're one of the worst rush defenses in the in the ACC and in college football. They're like in the hundreds in terms of ranking, because just their front is horrible. So Miami's biggest weakness has been the offensive line. There's a lot of focus on, well, King didn't play, the other quarterbacks look good. To me, whichever quarterback plays doesn't matter as much as can the offensive line block. Just the way this team is constructed. Virginia's a good matchup for that, because they stink up front. So if Miami can't block this team and win this game, it's only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, and if I'm going to assume, probably safely assume, that De'Ara King is not ready to go tomorrow night, which quarterback would you start tomorrow? Because I think I know which way Manny is going to go. I think he's going to probably err on the side of the guy with slightly more experience, but I think I might go the other way. Where would you go?
I'd go with Van Dyke.
Okay.
I thought he looked a little bit more polished. Again, the competition on Saturday was a joke, so you can't really tell much.
Yeah.
But I did think he looked a little bit more polished. I think the big tell is going to be, again, do they have time to throw? Because King did not look good, or like his old self in the first 3 games. But he also was running for his life basically as the ball was arriving in his hands, and then we saw the complete opposite on Saturday. So again, I think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about which quarterback is playing, when it's really like, can they block? Can we get a run game going? Because that just makes the job easy for the quarterback, right? We haven't been able to do any of that. Even the stuff like we saw the bubble screens hit for big plays on Saturday, those have been not working at all, even for like 4 and 5 yards before that, because the receivers also aren't blocking. So to me, it's all just, can they get physical and really impose on Virginia, which is what other teams have been doing.
Yeah.
Including teams like Wake Forest. So can
Right.
we rise to the standard of Wake Forest and push this team around? That's where we're at this point.
Oh my God! Now, and like you said, I mean, going up against Central Connecticut, wasn't really much of an opponent. It was basically just a cadaver. It was a bunch of tackling dummies you were going up against. But still, am I reading too much into this? Because one thing that I saw as a positive, and this could be more of a positive for like the next 2 years than it is for this year. But like, even against that opponent, Vishnu, the guys who were making plays were primarily the true and redshirt freshmen. Like, the true and redshirt freshmen were actually making more plays than the experienced guys. I mean, when I'm looking at D. Wiggins out there dropping another ball, and then I see what, Romello Brinson is out there doing, and Xavier Restrepo, it's like, actually, I honestly think that some of the freshmen, the redshirt and true freshmen, are actually making stronger arguments to get more playing time than some of the upperclassmen.
Yeah, I think there's an element of that. I mean, it is also the opponent. We did also go to the freshmen early and often, so they had more opportunities in that game. But to your point, like, D. Wiggins should not have been playing before that game. I mean, how many years of drop passes do we need before we realize he's going to drop passes? So that was at least good for Van Dyke to get the quarterback experience, throw a perfect pass that should be a touchdown and have it dropped. So It was a good experience for him to prepare for down the road. But yeah, no, they look good. The opponent's not good, but I think the one thing you can definitely say is they caught the ball when it hit them.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, the opponent doesn't matter on that, right? When
Right.
you're open and the ball hits you, you got to catch it. And as simple as that sounds, it's something we haven't been doing, and Wiggins did not do again on Saturday. So
I mean, they don't even let Mark Pope play receiver anymore. He's now a corner because he couldn't catch.
yeah, so I mean, it's definitely an improvement in that sense. I mean, one of the things this and Manny obviously talked a lot this week about how the way you rebuild is to stack recruiting classes. The player development has been terrible.
Yeah.
And that's really where the shortcomings is. He's right. You need to stack elite classes on top of elite classes to compete with like Alabama. You don't need to do that to like compete with Appalachian State. You should be able to just beat them.
Right.
So and or to not lose by 3 touchdowns to Michigan State. So I think there's some truth in what he said, but the player development's been lacking. So you see these freshmen show up, they look explosive. To your point, the next 2 or 3 years, how do we develop them? How do we grow into them? The fact that there's so many positions where we don't have like a leader or someone that's like, oh, that's the guy, is a little troubling. Like even like Mallory been dropping passes this year. Arroyo's looked a little bit better than him, frankly, and definitely better blocking. Like these are guys you brought in 2 or 3 years ago that were supposed to be, leading this team now. This is not a young team.
No, it's not.
And so something's been broken in the player development.
Well said on that regard. You'd mentioned that, Virginia, they've played against William and Mary this season. I didn't even realize they had a football program. Obviously, Miami just played against Central Connecticut, but the same weekend, the number 1 team in the country beat up on Mercer. Pittsburgh beat up on New Hampshire, I think it was. So, and this happens every year. Like you have a number of Power 5 teams, including top-ranked teams like Bama. Florida does this as well routinely, playing against FCS opposition. I got in an argument on Twitter with Dick Vitale, which is like a bucket list thing for me because I can't stand that fucking guy. I don't care. I don't care how beloved he is. Like I cannot stand that, especially when he tries to talk about football. Stick to basketball, bro. Leave the football to the big boys. So like Dick Vitale went out of his way to single out Miami for beating Central Connecticut 69-0, and how terrible it is just for money. How and it's like, okay, if you're looking at the macro point of it, can we raise an issue about Power 5s beating up on FCS schools? Yeah, that's probably a conversation worth having. But when it happens every year, and when teams like Alabama, and if you're talking about like safety of players, isn't playing against Alabama a lot more dangerous than playing against Miami if you're talking about the size and speed with which they're hitting you with? And yet Dickie V, and I will never forget a decade ago when he was a guest on the Dan Le Batard show when all of the Nevin Shapiro stuff was breaking, and he called for Miami to get the death penalty. I have never forgotten that. And now this guy goes out of his way to single out Miami. I mean, it's BS, Vishnu. I still have a problem with the way certain folks at ESPN cover this team.
Yeah, and I saw his tweet as well, and I hate to play the picking on us card, but to your point, this is the way college football is. It's been happening for decades. You give a school a check, they come in there, you basically get a preseason game, right? That's the point of this, right? So for him to single out this one instance, like out of all of the stuff you see happening, and that's, like you said, been going on for years, is ridiculous. And then also, he's worried about exploiting the kids. His whole career has been based on covering a sport where they don't pay the players.
Right.
So
That's a great point.
When you want to talk about exploitation, like his whole career is based on watching free labor play. So why don't you have a problem with that? You got a problem with us actually giving them money? Like we funded their athletic department for a year.
Yeah,
it's not great. Like, I agree with you. Like, there should be barriers between this. There should not be cupcake games. There should be probably tiers within FBS too. But that's redoing the whole college football system. If you're gonna single out Miami beating up Central Connecticut as like, oh, that's it, that's too much. Get out of here.
That's a redraw the line.
This whole system is disgusting. Like, I don't know what we're talking about. Like, why is this the thing he picked on? To your point, it's hard not to say. He's got something wrong with Miami, and he was going to use this as an example to call it out.
I'm telling you, there is a conspiracy. There, I put on my tinfoil hat every now and then. There is an Miami conspiracy with certain folks at ESPN. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I do want to address, I guess, what people can probably consider the elephant in the room. I know a couple people were mentioning it in the comments. How hot is the seat on Manny Diaz? And I guess it kind of depends on the way people view the athletic department. And we saw the Barry Jackson article that came out last week. Kirk Herbstreit referenced it on College Game Day, was very harsh on President Julio Frank and Blake James, just basically, frankly, wondering how much they actually care about making the football program great again. And it goes beyond the football program, right? Because Herbstreit probably doesn't realize what's been going on with basketball and baseball as well. Like, this is more than just a football issue. Honestly, how hot do you think the seat is for Diaz, and what would it take for him to get let go?
So I think it's probably warm. I do think there's issues. I see one of the comments like firing Manny, just Manny won't fix anything.
And I agree with him.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. There's issues with how he was hired and having the athletic director still there. That was singularly probably the most incompetent thing an athletic director has ever done. Paying a buyout to get your own defensive coordinator back. Without interviewing anyone. Even if it worked, you're like, boy, we got away with that one. If that doesn't work, So you have that guy in place, to your point, half the basketball team and baseball teams transferred. This whole program is a shambles, and the money keeps coming in because you get that ACC money regardless.
Yeah, that's right.
So if the focus is just on revenue, they're all happy, and I think for some people that is the case. So I don't know what fixes that. In terms of Manny specifically, it's what it always is with the Miami coach. When the money people get so annoyed with all of us being a pain in the ass to the point that they're like, I'd rather fire him so they shut up, he'll get fired. Because if you recall, even after Clemson 58-0, Blake James immediately came out that day and said, Al Golden's our coach, we believe in him.
Right. He's
going to be the coach going forward. After dealing with the fallout for that, he got fired on Sunday, right? Because it was just like, no, it's really, I know the fans get made fun of a lot for flying banners and being, I guess, very vocal and out there. It's because if they don't, it's certainly my opinion, they're fine with winning 6 and 7 games and keeping the money.
And it's actually a pity that that's what it takes, honestly, because I hate the banner thing because it makes the program look like a joke, and I've got to think it affects recruiting. So I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we have to drag our own program through the mud to enact change. But like you said, these people who fly the banners, they get enabled by the fact that it's and not just that singular act. It's a combination of everything, but that's part of it. That seems to be the only thing that works. To your point, it's like we shouldn't have to have fans, shitting on our own program and flying banners and embarrassing everybody, nationally. It shouldn't take that to make the administration realize we need to make changes.
Yeah, but I wonder, is that more embarrassing, or is what happened on College Game Day more embarrassing? Right? It's one thing for us to say there's some fans here acting crazy, but we grew into this position where it's been 20 years. And it's been doing the same thing. We've twice hired Temple's coach, twice promoted our defensive coordinator off of a failed staff. Yeah. To me, those are moves that are cheap because they don't want to invest. And by the way, you could the unsaid thing is you can put a ton of money into a coach, into an expensive coach, and they could stink too. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to take that risk. So they just make the safe, cheap bet. They know that what we're seeing on Saturday is a possibility when they do that. They're hoping they get lucky. I don't think they're trying to lose or anything. They're hoping they get lucky and find a diamond in the rough on the cheap. But if they don't, they know their profit margin's still good. Whereas if they go and they spend a ton of money and it fails, they've lost all that money. So they just do everything on the cheap. That's been the business model since we joined the ACC. Because in the Big East, revenue was tied to performance. One of the big kind of moves to the ACC was we get this guaranteed revenue stream. So they're just keeping the cost down.
Right.
I mean, it's to me, it's just a simple economics thing. They make more money long term spending cheap on coaches and losing than repeatedly spending heavy on expensive coaches and still losing most of the time, but then finally getting the right coach. And the winning is secondary.
That's well said. So I want to end on a more positive note after a lot of discouraging stuff. I am despite all the things we've said for the last 5 or 6 minutes, I am predicting a Miami win home against Virginia tomorrow night. I'm going to go with I'm going to say like a 27-17 score. I'm going to favor the Canes. What are you thinking for tomorrow night, Vish?
Yeah, I also like Miami to win this game. Probably by like a field goal or something. I think it'll be
Okay,
close.
so way closer than me.
Yeah, well, because Virginia can throw the football. They're throwing for over 400 yards a game. So, and our secondary does not look great. So I think they'll be able to move the ball, but I think we'll be able to kind of keep them out of the end zone and make them kick a lot of field goals because we seem to be pretty good at red zone defense. And then, get by basically, and then survive another week, and then we'll see from there. This is probably the worst team left on our schedule based on the way the season has been going. So.
Right, that's true.
All right, well, actually, wait. How did I forget Florida State? This is the second worst.
Oh, yeah, it's a great point. You're right. Florida State's awful. They're winless. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're definitely the worst. So this is the second worst team left on our schedule. So
that's like Florida State can't even beat the FCS teams. It's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, where was Dickie V then? Poor Jacksonville State picking on lowly Florida State. They took their money in, beat them. Come on.
Very well said. I'll go cry now, says John Marco. Oh. We appreciate it. Vishnu, we love you, my friend. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at VRP2003. Do you have any stories dropping or anything new you want to promote?
Nothing much. There will be the Five Rings Canes show tonight at 8:30 on 5 Reasons Sports Network as well. If you want more Canes talk, we're going to be doing a pre-game day a YouTube stream, so definitely check that out.
Well said, man. Have a good day.
All right, take care.
Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Awesome stuff there from Vish. By the way, I want to pull up that message there, Sean, from Andres Davila. He says, going back to the Tua topic, and we are going to get back into it, are we taking into consideration the fact that Justin Herbert has Allen, Williams, and Eckler? Yeah, that's fair to point out. To be honest, Tua doesn't have the same quality of weapons to make his job easier. Certainly he didn't, especially last year. The weapons have gotten better. He hasn't had much time to play with them yet. But yeah, his weapons last year, Parker, Preston both got injured last year, like he was really relying on. And we've come to find out this guy's a better player than we thought, but he was relying heavily on Mac Hollins, who's actually, grown into a pretty damn good player in his own right. And Lynn Bowden last year were big time targets for Tua. So yeah, the weapons are part of it. I think another big part of it where Dave Hyde in his column wrote a very fair point, because oftentimes, and the weapons, I think that is valid. Okay. But another part of it is people often say, well, okay, Tua doesn't have an offensive line to play behind. Herbert's has gotten better this year, but last year, Herbert's offensive line was worse than Tua's. Worse than Tua's last year and worse than Tua's so far this year. So you can't just go out and say that, hey, listen, he's getting great protection and he has good weapons. Good weapons, yes, but the protection last year when Herbert was putting up big numbers was worse than what Tua has gotten.
I mean, worse than 1.97 seconds?
Was that the play that Tua got killed on, right?
Yeah, but I think that was the play he had the most time on that day. Out of the 9 plays he played, I believe that might have been the longest he had to throw the ball.
I'm not evaluating Tua on the Buffalo game. I'm not. I mean, he played 5 snaps in that game and got destroyed. I'm not evaluating him on that. You're right. I mean, yeah, if Herbert was getting 1.97 seconds to throw, he'd be getting killed. I also think that Herbert's body probably more equipped to take that hit than Tua.
No, definitely. I just don't understand where they get the grades from on some of these linemen. I mean, the Dolphins somehow usually lead the league in giving up sacks, but somehow they're never the worst offensive line in the NFL. Some of the stuff doesn't make sense to me.
Well, listen, Pro Football Focus, their evaluations can be flawed because it's just hard for human beings to evaluate every player on the field. They use it's not like there's a robot grading these guys. There are human beings watching the tape, and sometimes it can be misleading. So yeah, I can sometimes discount PFF stats when it doesn't fit my argument and prop them up when it does. Real quick, before we bring in our next guest, who is in the waiting room already, I want to talk about Underdog Fantasy, a great partner here at 5 Reasons Sports. Sean Stanley and I both use Underdog Fantasy on the regular. Underdog Fantasy, guys, it is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes. Sean Stanley just put a down payment on a yacht. He's winning so much money at Underdog Fantasy. Like, he's doing really, really well on there. I don't know if it might be a canoe. I don't know if it's a yacht because I don't know how much of a high roller he is.
Paddle boat, but we can fit the family.
There you go. So he's doing well at Underdog Fantasy. You just draft. No need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles all of that for you. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. They have a bunch of different features on there. You can do matchup contests, over-unders, which I love. You can do season-long drafts, and it doesn't have to be preseason to make these. You can do these at any time. No in-season management, by the way. They're going to give you, this is a season-long best ball team, so you don't have to manage in season. They're going to give you $25 in free play money when you sign up, so you can take a free shot at a $1 million grand prize in their fantasy football tournament. That's right. You can get a free $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use our code. You see it on the screen, or if you're listening to audio only, I will say it for you. 5RSN is our code. 5RSN is going to get you that $25 in bonus cash. I love Underdog because it's so easy to use. The mobile app, guys, is slick. I think I've only actually logged onto the website once to sign up. Since then, I've only been using the mobile app. It's really easy to use. The website, though, is also user-friendly. Do what I've been doing. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, join a league, draft a team, and that's it. You are good to go for the season. All right, I want to bring it. It's been way too long. It's been a few weeks since the man, the myth, the legend has joined us here. Let's bring in Royal A. Shepherd, or Victor Oladipo. And my God, he's dressed so nice. He's got the coat as well. He's got the tie and he's got the coat. How you doing, man?
Thank you for having me on, Mr. Alexander Donno, sir. I appreciate it.
Talk about a consummate professional. This is incredible. This is incredible. And, you know, in the past, I brought you on primarily to talk Miami Heat, but I've noticed, Royal, you've become a staple on the Miami Dolphins coverage as well on 5 Reasons. So has your significant other finally converted you to a Dolphin fan full time?
She was getting close, and then I saw what they did against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I went right back home to Aaron Rodgers, leading me to victory in the final 37 seconds of a football game. But no, I'm getting closer every day to, I guess, since I watched them every day, covering them with the Extra Yard, along with Michael, Kai, and Juan. Like, watching them every day, I begin to understand more and more of the struggles that Dolphin fans have gone through. So I've grown more sensitive to their struggles as of late.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, and again, like you're primarily a Green Bay Packer fan, so you can give me a more unbiased opinion than some of the people in the chat can, who they want to have me killed. Like, they called in a hit on me, I think, already because I dare slander the name of Tua Tagovailoa, because there is a cult of Tua worshipers out there. And like, I still think Tua can be good. All right. Like, I still think Tua can be a good player, but I maintain, if I look at what Justin Herbert is out there doing now, even if Tua does end up having a nice career, I'm finding it hard to believe he's ever going to be as good as Justin Herbert. Like, I really think we took the wrong guy. Now, you can say this even more confidently than I can probably on the outside looking in, Mr. Victor Oladipo. The Dolphins got the wrong guy in 2020. Am I right or am I wrong?
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
I know what it looks like. Everybody likes the way Justin Herbert goes about his business. Nice frame, big, strong cannon arm, is mobile, and all those types of things. Valid points. But we sometimes forget that there are different ways to be effective as an NFL quarterback. And I think Tua will excel if given the proper amount of time. He will excel at his style of football. And I think the Dolphins fans will be happy with what they get from him, unless, you know, he's moved from one of the other names, like He Who Shall Not Be Named, or the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think that's kind of like where the misalignment is between you and the Dolphins fan base.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, you mentioned you watched what happened against the Raiders, and so you're sliding back into Aaron Rodgers DMs, and I don't blame you. So
I never left Mr. Alexander Donald, sir.
Fair enough. But your big takeaways from that Raiders game, because, and listen, despite a lot of mistakes in philosophy, the Dolphins were still a missed pass interference call away from potentially winning that game in overtime. But the play calling drove me crazy, man. Like, the play calling was just so dink and dunk, and then when they finally started to go downfield when they were down late in the game, it actually worked.
Sure. So I'm stealing this take from 3 yards per carry because it was such a good one that I have to use it. The Dolphins play like a team that wants to use the run to set up the pass, but they are built like a team that should use the pass to set up the run. the way that the speed that they have on the field should be able to stretch defenses vertically, but they don't seem to want to do that. They seem to want to pound the rock at the beginning of the game, just kind of fill it out, and it leads to missteps in play calling, like the screen pass to Jalen Waddle in the end zone. That's not something I would have ever even considered this team trying to do in that situation. You have several different options that you can go to, and to pick that one, it just shows a lack of understanding on behalf of the offensive coordinators. I don't want to pretend like I know more about football than these guys, but it just shows that maybe they're not completely understanding the tools that they have at their disposal and how to deploy those tools in order to get the most effective results, especially consider when you got a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett, not the most accurate. So to see a pass go 3 feet over Jalen Waddle's head, I was amazed that he caught it. Like that's
same here. And he shouldn't have caught it.
No, he shouldn't have caught it. But even if he had caught, even if Brissett had put the ball right in his chest, it still was a ways to get to the goal line, and at most you're gaining 1 yard. So you're not really giving yourself the breathing room that you're looking for. So I mean, the play calling has been absurd in some cases, and I would like to see them do more of what this team is built to be capable of doing.
By the way, Thictor Oladipo getting rave reviews here in the chat. Hey, Thictor, big fan. Nice to meet you.
I hate this guy, Donno. I hate this guy. Welch, he follows me to every stream, bro, and he calls me all types of bad names.
He follows Alana, too. It's funny because I think the only times I ever see Welch are when Alana's on, and I guess now when you're on as well.
Yeah, well, Welch, in all seriousness, he's awesome. Like, he always makes me laugh on stream, but he's just a troll, bro, in every day. But the name Thictor Oladipo came from that god-awful picture that Ethan took of Oladipo at Media Day. Oh my God. And we talked about it this morning on the Start at 9. And I was just like, bro, you are the Hassan Whiteside of photographers in terms of this market's media, because that was no effort. You made no attempt to make this man look thinner, hold his neck up.
He made him look like a bobblehead. Like, he made him look like an actual human bobblehead.
It was terrible, Mr. Donno, and I just did not appreciate it from Ethan J. Scolding, and I will have none of it with this man on our roster.
What were your biggest takeaways from Heat Media Day? Because, like, some of mine, you know, I love Spoelstra throwing out Heat culture when talking about PJ Tucker. I love seeing Bam not only talking about putting on muscle, right? He's heavier than he was 260 versus 245 when he arrived last year, and talking about working on that shot, and even saying, "Hey, I'm working on the three." You could see me taking at least 1-3 a game. He said yes to that one when he was asked about that. What were some of your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, so everybody feels great after Media Day because everybody believes that they're winning the championship on Media Day based off of what they've seen. Some of the biggest takeaways for me, though, specifically, I really enjoyed the kind of camaraderie that I saw between Jimmy and Kyle Lowry off the bat. Just kind of like the big face coffee thing was pretty good for me. I really like that. I like to hear what Vic said when talking about wanting to be one of the best comeback stories in NBA history. We all know that he's on a minimum contract and he's kind of like fighting for his career at this point. So I want to see him come back with that kind of hunger. Tyler Hero. We talked about this the last time I was here, Donno. I have never been the biggest Tyler Hero guy, but to see him add the muscle, just to see it, to see the thickness of his legs, it gave me confidence that he may be able to, battle some of the injuries that which he talked about. And those kinds of things were really good for me. But to your first point about Spo, the absolute biggest takeaway was just how refreshed some of these people in this organization look. Spo came back to talk about the long layoff, and I got this note from Miami Heat Beat. On October 11th will be the 1-year anniversary of the Heat's last finals game in the bubble. So they're going to have gone through an entire season and some of the preseason by the 1-year anniversary of 2 seasons ago. And so that extra time off has given these people to get away from the game, recharge. Spo talked about this a lot, and I'm interested to see how that additional rest helps this team going into the beginning of this season.
How do you feel about all this controversy now in the I didn't see that, but I've known Ethan long enough that I've seen him struggling to do simple things on his smartphone before. I didn't see this one specifically. Did you see the boomer trying to figure out how to take a video of Jimmy?
I did, man. Jimmy was sneaking in. He was struggling.
Oh man. It seems like a big deal right now. I don't know if this is getting a little bit blown out of proportion, but it is concerning when it comes to because Rolling Stone and others kind of are making it look like Kyrie Irving is leading like a civil war of, the non-vax versus the vaxxed. LeBron James did come out, I think, this morning and said that he is vaccinated. We were unsure about that before, so he's probably trying to calm that storm a little bit. But do you see this story going away, or could we actually get to a point where, Kyrie Irving might not even be allowed to play home games in Brooklyn? Because if that's the case, this is a disaster.
Right. So I think I really appreciate LeBron James coming out and saying that he's vaccinated, because I believe Kyrie Irving, for whatever we may think of him, he has a very strong voice in this league. So for him to come out like that, you saw people like Brad Beal come out against it as well, and the Jonathan Isaacs of the world and Andrew Wiggins, just to name a few of the unvaccinated players off the top of my head, to have a figure as imposing as LeBron James come out and advocate on behalf of vaccination, not full force, but just to acknowledge that he is. I think that could quell some of it, but I don't think we're going to see the end of this until we hear that 100% of the league is fully vaccinated. Yeah. League officials, players, staffs, everybody has to be vaccinated in order for this to kind of go away. And I don't see an avenue where that's going to happen, because we all know that Kyrie is strong-willed and he stands on what he believes in. So if he doesn't move off of that stance, then I don't see it going away.
Yeah. Okay. So moving back into less serious world issues, although it depends on your priorities, this might even be more serious. And where do you see the Heat finishing this year? Because they're certainly Philadelphia. Their process, I don't know if they're still trusting that there. They've got a big Ben Simmons issue right now. Yeah. Of course, and Brooklyn, they've got their issues potentially here with Kyrie. Milwaukee coming off a championship, they're probably feeling pretty good, but. I had been thinking for a long time 4 seed, maybe the ceiling being the 3 seed for the Heat. Are you feeling maybe even more bullish now? Because the Heat, they've got their vaccination stuff sorted out. You compare Miami to some of these other teams that could be near the top of the East.
No, for sure. So Ethan and I were talking about tiers, and I had Brooklyn and Milwaukee in the top tier and the Heat in that second tier right behind them, along with your Phillies and your Atlantas who's trying to sneak their way into there. Not New York. I believe that was a fluke. But the Celtics may be on the rebound. But with the Kyrie thing, it's very interesting, because then that seems like Milwaukee's in the tier all by itself. And with everybody else, it's a cluster. And Miami is one of those teams that if everything breaks right, then they can find themselves in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the biggest wild card is the Victor Oladipo thing. How does he heal? How does he come back from this injury? But if we get 75, 80% of what Vic was, then we're right there in the conversation for being Eastern Conference contenders. And so I don't want to set the bar too high. I think right now this team is a second roundish team. That's the floor that I'm putting on the team, second round. But the ceiling could be Eastern Conference Finals, or even if things break right, again, they could be talking about themselves being in the finals again.
He's the man, the myth, the legend, Victor Oladipo, a.k.a. Royal A. Shepherd. Hey, man, when can people see you or hear you on the network again? You got anything to plug this week?
So I'm kind of on a tear right now. Last night I did the Clutch Corner as well as the Extra Yard. Then today I did the Starting Nine, and I'm doing Donno Daily today. Tomorrow, I also have the Extra Yard again. So you can catch me on the Extra Yard every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:00 p.m. and every Wednesday, aside from yesterday, but every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'll be on the Clutch Corner. And when the season comes back, you'll catch me every post-game show, hosting that along with my guys, Gad, Ariel, Brian, Jonathan Ramlakan, Ricky J. Mark. The whole crew is going to be around. So I'm looking forward to the season cranking back up and getting back to work.
Answer this one on the way out, because I want you to get to Andres' question. How big will the role be of Duncan Robinson this year?
I think Duncan Robinson is going to. I think when people see the money that Duncan's getting paid, they're going to expect his role to increase. I don't think it should. Like with all this new additional talent, I just want Duncan to be better in his role. So I think Duncan has the same role, our primary shooter in the starting lineup. He's also going to be one of our primary scorers, because that's just the way our offense has been built. And so I see Duncan doing that. As long as he makes some slight improvements on defense, on the defensive end, then I think Duncan will be just fine. And I'm very excited to see what he has coming up.
Love it. I appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of your day and all the 100 other shows and guest spots you do throughout the rest of the week. Be good, man.
All right, man. Same to you.
I love it. Royal A. Shepherd, a.k.a. Victor Oladipo. Excellent stuff there. I was on DolphinsWire.com this morning. My buddy Kyle Krabs does an awesome job editing that website. He posts like 15 stories. That's a hardworking dude. And he brought up something. I said the same thing on my show either yesterday or Monday, maybe both. about this Indianapolis Colts game on Sunday essentially being a must-win game for the Dolphins. It's as close as you can get week 4 to a must-win game. And Krabs put a stat behind it that I think is worth sharing here. And I'm probably going to favor Miami to beat Indy at home, by the way, just so you know. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game, but it is impossible for this team to surprise me. I can go in thinking they're going to beat Indy at home. You know, if Carson Wentz with like 3 bum ankles comes in and puts on a superb performance and the Dolphins have another play calling debacle, anything is possible with this Miami Dolphins team. But I think the Dolphins are going to win this game. But according to the statistics, according to research conducted by Justice Mosqueda on the seasons 2009 through 2019, teams that start 1-3. So if the Dolphins lose this week, they're 1-3. They win, they're 2-2. Teams that start 1-3 have just a 10% chance of finishing in the top 7 seeds in the conference. So remember, the last year and this year, 7 teams each conference get in, not 6. It used to be 6, but even if you look at teams that just missed out on the playoffs, were 7 seeds, only 10% in that 11 season span. Only 10% of teams that started their season 1-3 went on to be a top 7 team in their conference. So you're really going to be behind the 8 ball if you don't get it done this week. And also keeping in mind, if you lose this week and you start 1-3, you're probably starting 1-4 because you play Tampa on the road week 5. You know, crazy things happen in this league, but that and maybe they'll have a hangover, Tampa, after playing New England, but it's not a game I would count on the Dolphins winning. You got to win this one, man. You have to. I appreciate everyone who's tuned in live today. Andres Welch, Johnny Be Good, Cap for Life. We love Cap. He's always such a positive dude. Brooklyn Rob. We love. Oh, and Brooklyn Rob brought up something. Sean, show yourself again. I brought this up to you off air before the show. Didn't mention it on the air. You are officially out of the closet. Literally, location-wise, because you used to broadcast in the closet with, you know, the unworn shirts behind you. I kind of miss the Don Shula football. I'm not going to lie. I think you just need to prop that behind your head there.
It'll be back.
It'll be where, because you're still in your house, right? You've changed broadcast locations.
Yeah, but I just quickly set it up this morning so I could be on air in time, hooking everything back up. So I'm not totally through yet. It's going to be probably by the weekend. I'll get everything that I want to get in, and I have it set up better. This was just a quick Donno daily setup.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. So Brooklyn Rob, thank you. Marco at MB Beggs, thank you. David, love David. John Marco was very active. Ashley Williams, thank you so much. Nick Lazzari. I wonder if Nick is related to the Italian soccer player Manuel Lazzari. It's I don't know if I've ever seen that name anywhere else, or maybe he's a big Manuel Lazzari fan. Maybe that's why he went by that. Let's see who else got in. Zachary Allen or Alain. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. At Allen. Hank Goldberg's left nut.
I bet it's betting.
What a name. Why left specifically and not right or both? That's an unbelievable name. Thank you so much. Wednesday at 11. Thank you. That's a great. You get some great usernames in here. Codeine Bama. Thank you so much. And I could Rafa in Miami. Thank you. Martina Davies. Alex V. I'm tired of scrolling up. So thank you to everyone who tuned in. Tyler Collins as well. I see everyone who made this episode possible. And by the way, do me a favor. I know a lot of people have been smashing the unlike button today, which is it's your prerogative. You didn't like the whole Tua Herbert topic. That's fine. But I would appreciate if you did smash the like button. Like those of you who have not already hit the dislike, I would encourage you to smash the like button. It helps out our algorithm. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at 5 Reasons Sports. Smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and tell your friends they can get this content daily here on 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you support our sponsors. I'm going to be heading out actually in about 2 minutes. I'm going to be out the door, heading up to the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I cannot wait. I'm going to have a little 2-for-1 happy hour action. I think I'm going to eat the All-American Burger today. I've decided. QuarterdeckRestaurants.com. Find the location nearest to you or check their menu before you go. Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And guys, our official sports book, BetUS.com. Take advantage. It's a full-service sports book. You can bet on anything, so convenient through your mobile phone, your computer. You can bet on basically any sporting event. They have an online casino, pop culture betting even. You can find odds on everything. BetUS.com. If you sign up with our code 5RSN125, you can get a 125% sign-up bonus. So if you deposit $100, you can get $125 of free play money on top of your deposit. How good is that? You play, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And a huge thanks to Sean Stanley. Manny Chang could not be here today because he is in the ATL, ready to watch Inter Miami. You can see it there. Good morning from Atlanta. Manny wrote, Inter Miami, by the way, are 1-goal underdogs +1. So if you want to get some action on the local team, BetUS.com is the place to do that. Huge thanks to Sean Stanley. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow, 12 noon, right here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.